So when I was at Juilliard, I had a lot of composition assignments for my theory classes, and I really enjoyed writing music, composing music, and many of the professors actually had told me that I'm a very talented composer, that I should become a composer and forget a violin, because and I was told that one of the professors gave me an A+, said this is the best fugue execution I've ever seen in 25 years of my career at Juilliard. So I thought, okay, I'm at Juilliard. He's been teaching here for 25 years, and I'm the best. Maybe I should consider becoming a composer. But I was already, maybe my senior year at Juilliard, and I dedicated all my life to playing the classical violin, and my parents have expectation. I was already performing as a classical violinist, concert violinist, and I was the concert master of different orchestras, and so I've done all of that, and I thought I had to pursue it. So it was very hard for me to forget about violin and become a composer. But I also really enjoyed composing, and at the time I was taking film scoring, class at Juilliard, and the professor said, actually, in order to be a very good, an excellent composer, for film, you have to learn jazz. And I said, okay, sure, I'll learn jazz harmony, so I can actually be a very strong composer for films. And that's what I wanted to do, write for films and commercials, jingles, whatever, because I really enjoyed composing and producing. However, so I actually went to LA, Hollywood. So and I was a concert master there too for the Harry Manson Orchestra, and a soloist, played solo. And I realized that it was actually better for me to use my career as a violinist and then compose on the side, learn jazz. And then I realized that actually playing jazz, playing improvised solos, that's kind of like composing. So it kind of all came together, playing classical violin and improvising and becoming a composer. So it became sort of one thing. However, I didn't realize how challenging it was going to be for anyone to learn jazz. Jazz is the hardest thing that I've ever tried to learn. People say, oh, jazz is a language. So I'm like, oh, well, I learned English. I mastered it. I did pretty well, and I started, at a later age, and I was able to do it. So I thought, oh, I think I must be able to, play jazz pretty well. But, little did I know, I didn't know how hard it was going to be. And it's the most difficult journey I've ever, taken learning jazz. It's just so deep and so sophisticated.
Which part was
well, harmonically, it's mathematically very sophisticated, and being able to execute it at such tempo, it has everything has to be internalized, and it's just, and vocabulary, just millions of possibilities, and also the language, meaning that you have to sound like jazz. You can't, your music shouldn't sound, your improvisation, that shouldn't sound like it came from Mars. It has to relate to what came before, the whole history of jazz. You have to learn all of that and still be creative on the spot, on stage, when you're doing in front of other great jazz musicians. So that's a huge challenge, and it's very hard, but when it's done well, it's very satisfying. And I'm so lucky to have toured with someone like Michael Brecker, who won 13 Grammys, and and I had the opportunity to be on the same stage with so many great jazz musicians, and I got to hear them, and they really inspired me. And so I was sort of kind of though it took me a long time to and it has taken me, I'm still, no one is complete. Everyone keeps learning until, he or she dies, basically, for jazz. So, but I was very fortunate because I played the violin, so and so few people do this and do this well, so I was fortunate enough to work with some of the greatest in the history, and I got to learn directly from them on stage while getting paid. So, so that's nice.
Okay. Can you talk about your concert?
Yes. So on May 6th, we have our debut, debut of this new repertoire, which is music of Ryuichi Sakamoto at Something Jazz Club on Midtown East. And we will feature Anne Drummond on flute, Helen Sun on piano, Desmond Douglas on bass, and E.J. Strickland on drums, and myself on violin and erhu. And we'll be playing music from the Ryuichi Sakamoto's debut album, 1,000 Knives, as well as the film score, The Last Emperor, which is very beautiful, gorgeous, and we have some tunes from his works from the 90s, and some song-like tunes, and it will be. I'm very much looking forward to it.
So you're going to a tour to
yes.
all over the world?
Not all over the world, but we are invited to Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur.
Okay.
International Jazz Festival, and there will be many other
so
great jazz artists.
You're going to perform
in Malaysia,
yes.
on May 19th.
Okay.
So,
because many viewers in
from all
in Asia and
yes, please come. If you're in Singapore, come to Kuala Lumpur. So
okay,
yes.
Sounds. Thank you so much.
Thank you.